Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Boz, and we are live here on Tuesday. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. I'm going to start right out with a story. In 2006, the Tylenol launched a campaign that many people said was crazy, telling people to take a product, to not take their product if they didn't take it responsibly. The president of sales went on television and spoke directly in the camera to say, some people think that if you have a really bad headache, that you should take extra medication. The problem is that's not going to get rid of the headache any faster. And taking too much medication of any kind, no matter how safe it is, can cause serious problems. Your health is important to us at Tylenol. So if you're not going to take it as recommended, then don't take it at all. I'd rather you just not take our medication. And if it means selling less Tylenol, that's fine with me. That kind of marketing is called authentic marketing. And it improved the trust that Americans and others had with the company of Tylenol. Tonight, we're going to talk about some authentic marketing and some great wins that we've had at the Dr. Boz team over the last week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I love seeing where you're from, and thanks for confirming that my sound works. I'm going to start with a tradition here on the Dr. Boz Show, which is the real thing. I'm checking my numbers, too. I have not had a 48-hour fast. I've only fasted since yesterday morning. So what is that? Tomorrow morning would be 48 hours, so it's like we're in the 36 range. So I don't expect it to be that great, actually. So I've got some ketones counting down and some glucose counting down. And yeah, ketones are 0.5, glucose 0.56. Actually, I'm pretty impressed with that glucose. It's not always been that easy to get my glucose out of the upper ranges. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. We are going to share some really good news here at the Dr. Boz channel, or whatever they call this on YouTube. And I'm super thankful for all of you that zoomed in or dialed in to the low carb conference that I had blood on my finger and just got on my face. The low carb conference that was called Low Carb USA in Boca. I had never been before, and oh my gosh, it's truly one of my favorites. And I am about to talk about that, which is our poster. Maybe you can see a little bit. Our poster, which won first place for attraction idea. I'm not sure really what first place means, actually, but I'm happy to say we did it. And I am going to start by explaining a little bit about that, and also walking into some of the lessons I have for tonight. So number one is that if you are looking for awesome content, that conference was jam-packed. I mean, if you're in that season where many of us have been before, which is to look for all the content that seems to not be not disagree with what is working for you, but what actually the science is saying, then you will find it in that lineup. I'm pretty sure you can buy the access to the online stuff after the event now. It was $99 before the event, so I don't know what it costs after the event, but it is totally worth it. Like, I want to go back and watch some of the lectures, and I'm so thankful that I got continuing education for it. And if you're looking for the cliff notes on how other people are doing things and where the metabolic health world has come from and is at this stage, I don't know that you can get a more jam-packed stage of leaders and scientists and innovators. So I was proud to be asked to be part of it, and I'm super excited to share what we got first place about. And we're going to do some authentic marketing as we do that. So let me make sure my notes are all set up here. Okay, so I have I'm gonna change screens here and get right into this. And give let's see, here we go. All right, so this is my take that down a little, square it up. So this is the poster. This is the thing that we got first place for, the thing you can kind of see behind me. And I am super thankful for Keto Mojo because they were very instrumental in getting me to do this, because I'm like, I need another project, like I need a hole in my head. But I'm so glad they asked me to do it, because it gave me a chance to really unpack what it is that my dream has been for a couple of years. So what we got awarded first place for was, whatever it means, we got first place for this poster, which points out that there is a problem in treating metabolic health. And when you are in my neck of the woods, treating this problem is part of what makes it so difficult. Why aren't there other doctors in this space? Why does it feel so lonesome? And it's because there are definitely problems in trying to get other people not only recruited into thinking this way, like what is ketones, what is metabolic health, and why does my brain instantly see this inflamed patient filled with all these medical problems that all of those lectures covered, but it doesn't fit into our current model. That today's current process, if you have a metabolic problem, you're going to have a situation where you have very limited support, that anytime you do come to see one of me, one of the medical doctors or your healthcare team, we're going to talk about ordering labs. We're going to have prescriptions that we write. We might spend 15 minutes with you. And in that process, we also know that it is going to be difficult to track. Hard to track the kind of data that I'm going to want to keep track of if we're really going to move the needle in a short period of time and get you on your way to a better life. We also know that we are going to expect you to be accountable, and that the amount of engagement from your doctor is going to be very, very poor. So what the Dr. Boz team has been working on over the last couple of years, and really moving to Florida did delay this launch for me, but I am super happy to say that my dream has started, and the dream begins with it's a flip, much like the food pyramid is a flip for how you think about what you should be eating. What I'm trying to do is flip. How is it that I can help people move the needle of their metabolism, of their metabolic health, from where they're at right now to the kind where it doesn't need me? That we had. So I'll explain the program, and then I'm going to come back, and I've got some slides that I want to teach you. What is it that is so? I don't know if the word's magical. All right, so first of all, I lead a program that is not dwindled out for 2 years when I might move your hemoglobin A1C from 6.5 down to 5.5 in 2 years. No, this is a 21-day course, and it is an intense immersion into the ketogenic diet. That I am using mirror neurons to warp you into a vortex where your brain doesn't think you're able to do the things we're going to do in these 21 days. That we use the KetoCONTINUUM, the curriculum that's in the workbook that I've written. It's the one that I use in the clinic. But when these people see me in the clinic, it takes them forever to get through what I will deliver in 21 days. And most importantly, the people that are leading these groups, they do not have fancy letters behind their name. They are lay coaches. We start with education. Again, the opposite of what I get time for when you see me one-on-one in my exam room. We start with lay coaches who are led by a physician, but who are separated out into different rooms so that each coach is in charge of their community. That the way that we pick the coach is we hire for attitude, we train the rest. We want them having a success story with a ketogenic diet, but we don't want them perfect. We don't want them saying, I've arrived at the ultimate health. We want them being one of the people in the room who's going to struggle too. Because if you're being authentic, we all struggle. It's part of addiction recovery. And one of the best parts about the Boca conference this past weekend was that it was the theme was addiction. and to watch other people talk about how much the addiction model has got to be part of what we talk about in this ketogenic place it was truly inspiring to hear that other people are think this way. Sometimes I think I'm the only one. All right, so let me finish telling you about what our poster won and what happens next. We did partner with Keto Mojo. Their meters, which is what I've been using to check my sugars, but the meters of ForaCare also do this too. They synchronize with a dashboard so that students every day are just checking their blood ketones and they're checking their blood glucose. And they figure out when I want them to check and what their numbers mean. Not because they're just looking at their own data, but because we did something really novel. And we did it because Mojo Health helped us figure out how to implement this for our small little class last fall, which was we want everybody's data to be synchronized. In fact, one of the biggest fears I had when I was launching the class was, for the first time in my life, I'm asking permission through one of the forums, may I share your results publicly? Like the opposite of what I would be asking them if I was seeing them one-on-one in a HIPAA environment. Because we want to use we want the patients to share those data points, not just with me, not just with their coach, but with everyone in the room. And what that does, it suddenly provides transparency to what you're doing. You can't fake what your numbers are on these little things. Ask me how I know. No, I check them live every week. But it also improved compliance in the setting of something that is so critical in an addiction recovery process, and that is positive peer pressure. It's the same thing that CrossFit uses. You show up at CrossFit and you think, well, there is no human being that could possibly do 35 pull-ups. And then everybody else in the room is doing pull-ups and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do a pull-up. I don't do pull-ups. And then by the next week, you're doing a little bit more. And the next week, and oh my gosh, after a year, you're doing pull-ups. You're doing pull-ups. That positive peer pressure is absolutely one of the places where we activate mirror neurons. And it's something I've done with addiction recovery in alcohol and all the other kinds of addiction that show up in a clinic, that if you're going to change behavior, we're going to have you practice that behavior in a very committed but secure environment where we're all being authentic. That my data synchronizes to every single classroom. You all know what, when I wake up in the morning, did I check my blood sugar? Did I check my ketones? Everybody's dashboard will show you that. And the part of your leader being that involved did something so magical in that first class. It was something I've been praying about, I've been thinking about, I've been wanting to do this for over 2 years, but well, life hit. And that fall class, I just pulled the trigger and said, God, help me do this. I really think I can help move the needle for students, for patients, so much faster than seeing them one-on-one, and so much more rewarding for my team, for me, as we watched each student advance their metabolic health along that keto continuum. They all showed up at the class at different places. That was part of what we were looking for. We don't want everybody to be perfect, but we wanted to practice these needed, I don't think I can erase on this one. Oh yeah, I can. I can even change the size of this. Is that little fella? Oh yeah, let's do that. Okay, better. Practice the needed behavioral changes inside this committed group. And that's truly what happens with not only addiction recovery, but also with people who are trying to change chronic behavior in a way that does these things that are kind of miraculous. That in the end, we designed a program that started with a connected community. And that connected community was connected to our leaders too. On purpose, we said, no, if you're looking for perfection, don't come. That's not what I want my coaches to be. I don't want them to be perfect. I want them to be authentic. And I want them to like community, to have an attraction to helping other people. And in this little sphere of what really transforms through several didactic lectures. We used positive peer pressure to say, can you do better? Can you do a little better? Can you do something more? And we didn't even have to say it. That positive peer pressure, especially when you're in a group really of people trying, you think it's not possible, but didn't have, I thought my video quit and I was like, oh no. Didn't have I thought several people were gonna really push back, and I could not believe that all students stayed engaged and dramatically changed how they approach problems. And even though nobody was perfect at the beginning of the 21 days and nobody was perfect at the end, they were all so much better. Everybody had leveled up on their metabolism. And again, this model, unlike this model, is scalable. That what I have learned in this program is that when I'm looking for how do I spend the next 20 years of my career, I really don't want to see patients one-on-one for the rest of my life, because the needle moves too slowly for them. To watch what I would have wanted my mother to have at the beginning of her journey would have been, no, I need you to be looking for a very intense change of how you think about you. And even though you probably won't stay at that intensity forever, we know that. We're human. We see it. You now have the rule book for how to progress along. And you have yourself a little tribe of other people doing it with you. All right, I'm going to switch gears just for a second because I want to show you a couple of things that I think will help you see what do I mean when I'm talking about that true metabolic patient. Let's see here. I got to square up a couple things. There we go. Okay, so when I showed up at the Metabolic Health Conference, I realized that I'm not the only one that thinks of patients like this, of inflamed and irritated on a cellular level, on a mitochondrial level. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't pour my drink. I'm getting thirsty. Let me go back over here, double check on the chat, make sure everybody is doing okay, and then yeah, a couple people are asking, is it okay to use your ForeCare? Yes, the ForeCare does synchronize through their Bluetooth with the dashboard, which is what we want. And we were so happy that it worked out as well as it did on paper and in reality. And our coaches have all seen that problem and are ready to help. So what I'm drinking tonight is the Pucker Up Again. It's my new favorite because it doesn't have any sweetener in it, and not everybody's going to like it. If you're new to keto, you should not start with this. You're going to want to have something where it's got a little flavor in it, and then maybe you can add this, but because the sweetness does get harder to tolerate once your palate adjusts. So I'm going to see if I can open this without, oh, see, that's how it's supposed to work. I was going to say without popping it into my eye, which I have done. All right, so I'm going to drink this as we keep going. So let me go back to my slides and tell you a little bit more about what a couple of revelations that I saw on the Metabolic Health Summit. So this is a patient, yes, a patient that I think of whenever I hear the word metabolic dysfunction. And metabolic dysfunction happens on the inside of your cells. That when people talk about supplements and how important it is to have certain medications, I think not nearly as important as getting the chemistry straight inside your body. And what happens when you don't do that are chronic diseases. These are the diseases that I spend those 15 minutes matching up lab tests and medications and prescriptions and stopping prescriptions with these problems. From Crohn's disease to ulcerative colitis, obviously the diabetes ones, but the autoimmune disorders and allergies and lupus and vitiligo and arthritis and NASH and obesity and multiple sclerosis and celiac disease. All of these were talked about over the weekend. Over this course, and looking into how do migraines, how does autism, what is being affected. And that is because when people say the word metabolic health, my brain is thinking about their mitochondria. Their mitochondria are not working right, and their cells on the inside are swollen and inflamed. Let me do a quick here before I change that. There we go. Okay, here we go. So when I look at some of the things that every person should be learning about, it is a glucose to ketone ratio. That when we talk about metabolically sick, several of the speakers talked about how it advances and grows in a place where the fuel access to their mitochondria were not in a good place. And whether you call it a glucose ketone index or whether you do the back of the envelope math, which doesn't you should not take into a math room, called the Dr Boz Ratio. Take the big number, the glucose, divide by the little number. What are we really looking at? What am I trying to help you see? Is today, in this setting, in this minute, not only how high is your insulin, but how resistant are you to insulin? That even as you lower insulin over time, the cells don't always carefully listen to you. They've been just soaked in insulin for so long that they don't work right. And as that Dr. Boz ratio comes down, yes, insulin comes down, but more importantly, we get to start to measure insulin resistance. And if people wake up every day with a Dr. Boz ratio of under 40, which I don't have that either, you'll see that in the class, that Dr. Boz ratio of less than 40 means, yeah, you don't have any insulin resistance, buddy, you win. You're definitely the best. But if they're if they're working on their insulin resistance, then they're going to hit between 40 and 80 several days out of the week. So they may still have insulin resistance, but they are able to get numbers like this pretty easily, pretty robustly. And if they never get their Dr. Boz ratio below 100, well, welcome to the club. You're insulin resistant. So if you look at several of the things I put in my lecture, it was to say, as your average blood sugar changes over time and raises, so do these diseases. And when we're talking about little ones, as in little people, babies and children, they have mood swings and irritability. And the more that you increase their sugar, the more their brain doesn't work right. And for heaven's sakes, if you watch what the guidelines are for having childhood obesity this past week, they now want to do the surgeries that don't work in my internal medicine patients. They don't work in the adults. They have unbelievable, their failure rates that, oh yes, we can improve life for a few years. These are kids. You don't get to say that. Yes, you may have extended the life of my 50-year-old by 5 years because you gave him gastric bypass and he lost 100 pounds, even though you screwed up about 100 other things. You cannot do that to a 13-year-old. You cannot start doing surgeries to a 13-year-old. But the average blood sugar, increasing other things like gut dysfunction and seasonal affective disorder and the tolerance of their glucose. We have obesity in adulthood. We have cancer after cancer after cancer, dementia, Huntington's. I didn't put multiple sclerosis on here, but that one's on here. Rheumatoid arthritis, other autoimmune disorders. Several of these disorders all speak to insulin resistance for a long time. And the longer they have it, the more the severity of these diseases turn into, it's a sentence nobody should have to have. And reversing it, one slow hemoglobin A1C a year, not going to do it, people. You've got to reverse the problem because that just gets you out of the tip of the iceberg to get you into the place where autophagy takes place. I'm going to show you the answer of how we're doing that in my clinic. But if I take you on one-on-one, the most I'll ever be able to share this with is like less than 1,000 people before I retire. And as much as that sounds like, okay, great, I could do that, but I could also do it differently. And it's risky because nobody's doing it like this. But I want to. And I am charging $1,000 for a student. Not because I want the $1,000. That's not the point. The $1,000 is I need a paradigm shift for this whole equation of how we take care of people. And as we start with the students that I want to succeed, I want this program to work, which means, number one, nobody casually gives me $1,000. There are people like this who wrote in on Facebook over the last couple of days, and it's just the most beautiful message. I was spending $200 a month or more on medications. And the money for the doctor's visits and the time off work, plus multiple days of not feeling good and completely non-productive. I decided to spend the money on myself and completely dive in and fix myself. It helped me completely get off of medications. I will not even waste my time going to my old PCP. The money spent was totally worth the information and the support I received. Heck, my group still gets together weekly for a Zoom meeting. Guess how much we charge for that? Nothing. That's you. Because one of the most important parts of why this program works. Oh, wait, I won't. I'm going to tell you in a minute. I can also join in other group meetings, and there are still that are still continuing. It was totally worth it, in my opinion. Now, I really appreciate that praise because it is. I am definitely passionate about what I'm doing and who I'm trying to reach. And when I look at, first of all, who this course is for, there are three audiences that I'm trying to look for. Number one is people like that who do not have a chance if we don't have an intense improvement in her health, and we don't have I mean, she's already on multiple medications. It would take me at least 6 months to explain the process, let alone example it in a way that she can pick up and copy. And even though she won't be the best one in the class by the end of the 21 days, she has the plan. This is how you do it. And now, yeah, I'm going to save that next one for that. The second audience of people of who should take this class is people say, "Can I come shadow you at your clinic?" And I'm like, no, because I'm doing it so backwards that you're not going to be able to copy much of what I'm doing. Oh, wait, yes, you can. Be a student. Watch what I do for 21 days and then copy everything I'm doing and take it back and do it in your clinic. Because we need more people like this. We need more people on the other side of this paradigm shift that are saying, I don't want your $5 a month Patreon relationship. I didn't go into medicine for an ancillary. I like the intimacy of what happens when I get to know people. And during this course, at least I get to know 10 of them intimately. I get to interview them. The coach's job is to find me 10 cases where I unpack their problem, where they said, yep, we can talk about your numbers in front of people, and we use their cases not just to get them through the course, but to really have their experience teach 200 people, hey, I saw this autoimmune problem who had vitiligo and or multiple sclerosis, and here's what the doctor said, here's what the doctor there was doing. And again, this isn't stopping and starting their medications. This is just the metabolism that's going on inside their mitochondria that has rules that, yes, I can put it in a book. And there are several people that can read that book and watch these videos, and they are off to the races. They do not need me. Congratulations, go for it. But for the people who have severe problems, who are saying, I can't wait 5 years. I can't wait to get into your clinic when the next one dies off and I can let somebody else in. I want you to copy it. Because the third person that I want to take this course is anybody who thinks they need to become my patient. And I would say, start with this. Most of you do not need to see me. You need an intense example of what I do in this clinic. And I will be back twice a year to do this, provided I can continue to talk my team into this, because it's very intense for the coaches and us too. But guess what? Our health gets a little better each time we do it too. It's really beneficial for us. And isn't that what true and honest work is supposed to be? Where I go to work and not only do I improve the guy in front of me, but I improve me by doing it, by listening to what that story is meant to share. So I also had a bit of negative feedback, and I'm going to answer this because I think they're right, that I didn't explain exactly what you're saying yes to. What are you getting in this course? Because I'm all excited about it. And our poster, I did such a good job of explaining it in person that I realized, oh, I'm not really saying that in the emails and in the other messages or in the sales copy. I need to say that. And when I said it in front of these people, I felt the attraction was real. Like, oh, this is what I'm giving, what they want. And this is a match, not for everybody, but for the people who are looking for what I'm giving. Let me go over here and do a quick change of scene here. And okay, so I got to go over to this little button. Don't give up on me. There we go. Okay, so again, what do you get? The first thing, every weekday, Monday through Friday, I start every meeting. At 8:30 in the morning, it is a live Zoom call that you can either join me live, or if it's too early for you folks on the Pacific Coast, it is recorded, and when you wake up, you get the first live hour of what I do, of what each day is set forth. In the first week, we are talking about several of the ways to set up your mind frame, really prepare you for some of the things we're doing, and connect you with what we are trying to create in that room, what we are trying to create in the classrooms. But weeks 2 and 3, every day is a different case. It's a case of a real person who's in your class, who might be your classmate, it might be you, and their stories. Oh, it's my favorite part. I get to do what I'm meant to do, and I get to see inside their life and their heart and their journey and their pain, and say, here's what I would do if I were you. That there are some online lectures, and oh by golly, they're brilliant. I mean, I spent over a year writing these lectures. My husband was definitely ready for me to be done writing those lectures. But I was trying to put into visuals and a story, what am I doing in this clinic? What is it that I deliver? And it isn't rocket science, but it can be complicated if you're new, and it can be overwhelming if you've been at it a while and I need you to step back and go backwards. If you don't understand why, people are like, I don't want to do that. But the second thing you get is you are in a group. You are in a very small, not too small, but small enough to have positive peer pressure. There are some rules about those groups. It's really important that we follow those rules. And that coach meets with me every day to decompress what happened in their group, and are there questions that I need to be dialed in on? Are there people that you're concerned with? And if so, is that a case that we need to be unpacking, or is it a question and an answer that many of the other coaches have as well? We do some things that are in the fasting world. That today, just as a hint, my husband had to go to Costco and say, we need to stock up on some sardines because we're out. But there are some challenges that we do. And we don't just do it to mess with you. We do it in the setting of watching what your metabolism is doing every morning. And the most remarkable thing happened during that first class. And like an idiot, I was so worried about taking these people's data and sharing it in a classroom that as soon as the class was over, I said I'd keep this open for 4 or 5 days, and I deleted all their data, which is what I should have done, but I should have de-identified it and kept the data and then deleted it. So I need you to come back so we can do it again and show other doctors what happened inside this group, because it was remarkable. And of course, if you're going to fast, it's way better to do in a group, because part of what helps everybody connect is this data dashboard. And I just say a hats off to Keto Mojo. If you're buying strips, type in DRBOZ for a discount code. If you don't have a meter, or if you have one that's not working so well, go to the favorites page on bozmd.com and know that there is a trade up program on, I think it's the second space in that program, but bozmd.com, click favorites, and you'll see we'll help you get a fresh meter for a pretty remarkably low cost. But this is part of how that positive peer pressure happens, that we're not just having people weigh in. We aren't having people weigh at all, actually. As one of the criticisms, people said, that process of reversing medical problems requires that you keep track of data, so shouldn't you be weighing them? And we're going to debate that on the next one. So anyway, there's other things like some handouts, some downloads. I have some mini lectures. I have some tricks that I do when people are stressed. And I think the years of addiction medicine really has changed how I do this. I think I actually did these 3, so I'm gonna scroll down. Yeah, that is the last one. Yeah. The three, who am I trying to get this? People who've tried and failed, like the gal who wrote in that comment. People who are like me, who do not want to click around. They want an expert to teach them. They want to know how to do this in short order. It is the fastest apprenticeship I could figure out, and it is like shadowing me in the clinic. This is what I would do. And then finally, you don't need to be my patient. You really do need to have accountability. You need a vortex of other people doing what you're doing. But you really don't need. It doesn't mean I won't see you as a patient. I just know that most people don't need to, and I want you in this course pushing your metabolism like the stuff that's out there before I say, can I slow down and see you one-on-one? And I don't have any remorse about what I'm doing. I know that the relationships that I want to create, like the Tylenol, some of them you don't need to do this. But I think about what my mom needed, and she had me as a daughter. She had access to that. And she got this intense training 6 years ago because I was there. And so how can I replicate this without exhausting myself in a place where I still get so much joy? I can't wait to meet the 10 people that I get to connect to, that I get to pray about, that I get to know that I hope I can find what their puzzle is that needs to be solved. And if you've ever seen one of those things where you take a top and you zing it and it starts spinning and they do really good and they spin, and then sometimes the top falls over. So I hope that everybody pulls that string and their top spins. Because one of the most critical parts about this workshop, about this 3 weeks, is on the 18th day, and we got a ton of pushback when we did this the first time. We tell the students, we tell you now, that we pass this responsibility on to you, that at the end of this course, your coach isn't there. And it is very similar to the same mantra that when we were in the addiction clinic, there was this sign in the nurses' den, in the nurses' area, that as we left the nurses' area, the medical area, and we went into the patient care area, there was a banner above the door that said, "Don't let them become addicted to us." And sure, it's a good business model, but it's not the freedom that they were after. And if patients are going to master this process, let me teach a tribe of you how to do it right, how to do it intensely. And then you all have Zoom accounts. You're all adults. You don't need us around for this. Go make your own group. That's the transferred responsibility is how people stay healthy. They take ownership that, oh, she's not going to watch? I don't get to coach anymore? No, you don't need us. 21 days and you will be free. And like that post said, I think every classroom still has an ongoing weekly meeting where they're checking in to say, here's where I'm struggling. Here's what I'm doing. And it's not me. I want to have another, 10 to 15 babies in little classrooms that are out there doing their thing, because that wife is going to teach her husband, and that grandmother is going to teach her grandchild, and that second grade teacher is going to be able to have a nutrition talk that isn't just that Doritos are bad because they have MSG or used to have MSG in them. Doritos are bad because they're processed and they're a whole bunch of carbs, and it's just as addictive as sugar. And those are the kinds of things where I hope what we're doing twice a year, right after Martin Luther King Day and right after Labor Day, we are going to do this course. And I hope it carries me through the next 20 years of my career. I hope that I can create classrooms after classroom where they're set free, not addicted to me or any other medical doctor. All right, let's take your questions. I think I haven't even been drinking my things. Let me get my questions up over here. Where did it go? Here we go. All right. So, first question is by Karen. Karen says, should we start the 21-day class in ketosis? Trying to plan when to start fasting. Don't fast. I have to fast more than 72 hours to get my ketones to show up. Oh, Karen, we are going to teach you the darndest trick on how folks like you who have probably a rather improved metabolism from where you've been to where you want to go, and what the rate limiting factor is for why you're using fasting as your only option for the way to get that Dr. Boz ratio in the right direction. We have some other tricks that are a lot easier to deal with. So if you're married, your husband's about to like this because it's a lot easier to do that. I had another question come in on Facebook that I'll repeat, and that was, why would anybody need to take it again? And I'll tell you, it's that I don't think most of them would have to. But I do know that when I've done addiction recovery over and over again, that one of my favorite places was to invite students to come back to the support group whenever they felt that that they were faltering. It's why it's so important that we pass that support group on to that tribe. It doesn't have to be us, but if maybe something in that support group just didn't click, or the time they were meeting didn't fit with you, or maybe you got embarrassed, you fell off the wagon and you want a fresh start. We're going to teach the same curriculum, but there'll be 10 different cases. I'll probably say some things different than I did the first time. You'll see a different season of our lives, meaning the coaches will have changed, the doctor will have changed, but it will be a different journey. And the first time we spin that top and it twirls around and it does really well for a while. And if it has the right support, it can stay. But if it fell over, well, we'll give you our intense attention for those 3 weeks again, twice a year. And I mean, I already have Keto Mojo saying, well, can't you do it more times a year? I'm like, you get that it's human beings leading this. This is very intense. And well, I'm only committing to twice a year. I'm way better than I was before the first 21 days, and I had a season of life not going perfectly. So I had plenty of things to clean up. I didn't keep them all cleaned up. Oopsie, wrong button. So I'm looking for, actually there's a few questions that, so right now it is the same price for retaking it. We don't know if that's going to change. We'll see how the second class goes. I see that question there on the side. And I have, is cod liver a good alternative to sardines? Well, I don't know. If you're in the class, we can use you as an experiment and see what happens. Let's see, a few others. We're making sure that discount code I almost always start with DRBOZ. Almost all of the coupon codes are DRBOZ that I am partnered with. So try that. This time we do have a couple other things that I think were beneficial. We let you, if you know the coaches and you want to select them by name, the prepay ones all got to select their coaches, or the pre-book ones. And we're trying to see if we have enough students that are all beginners to have a beginners class, because if they're truly beginners, or if they've dabbled in ketones and then they haven't for 3 or 4 years, then a beginner's class is a much better place to be. And they have the same questions, they're in that same vortex, and so we might do that as a part of this. Well, I am going to call this a wrap unless there are any more questions. I'll give a couple more minutes for my gals to see if there's anything more that I didn't answer or that I should answer on our... I might not be refreshing my sheet here. Let me try that again. Because there's lots of questions on the other end, but what we want to know if there's any questions about the course. I like Arlene saying we should have a Dr. Boz cloned. I'll tell you one other thing that really happened at the Metabolic low carb is, you begin to meet the same people that are leaders, that are the speakers. But one of the most powerful things is how much how much the audience members have changed. That on the first couple of them that I went to, it was without a doubt it was a setback for how many people were so obese, were so overweight. And I was so inspired by the number of people that I didn't recognize they'd lost so much weight. They were not speakers. These are just people following keto, trying to figure out how to do this. And not only had they lost a ton of weight, but they have maintained it off, and they have done what I've been trying to get people to do, which is teach other people how to do this. So Karen wrote in and said, do we stay with the same coach? And the answer is yes, you'll get assigned to a coach. The place that you'll choose your coach is based on what is your, what you get to pick two options for what time of day will you be able to meet live with your coach. That recording, that is not recorded, that is only done live. We want you showing up and engaged and being part of that community. You know, today at my support group here in Tampa, I contend it is probably the best, probably one of the top 10 best meetings I've ever had. I've been doing meetings for a long time, and I mean meetings are keto, yes, but before that it was addiction meetings. And we really have over the last couple of weeks been talking about how your identity changes when you address addiction. And that's a very vulnerable place to go. And so I shared with them how much that identity has been difficult for me to address in other areas, and some I've gotten better at, and others I still haven't done a very good job of addressing. And as I said in this morning in class, that when you are looking at how much your authentic self, the one that you don't want to tell people about, the one that has the flaws, the one that screws things up, the one that is embarrassing when you're trying to do things right, and then you put on a perfect performance, and then the next day you go home and you sneak and hide because you know you don't want to show that part to other people. And as we address those places where people sabotage or self-sabotage, how much that is really confronting our identity. And, really goes back to looking at that room of people that showed up for that low-carb keto, and how that these people have, as an audience, have lost a tremendous amount of weight, and the authenticity of those participants in the room it was just a very genuine connection of the people that I've been following, and that come and ask me questions and follow me at almost every speaking event I go. All right. So I have one other question that just popped up, and then I'm going to check my numbers. Let's go over the questions. Let's see here. Here we go. Pajama says, just joined your class today. Don't have time to get a blood meter. Is that going to be a problem? So I would encourage you to get a blood meter. It would be something that if you write into Angela at hello@bozmd.com, she can give you some links about where to go to get them. But almost all, the class doesn't start until the 23rd, which is Monday. And even if it's not there perfectly on Monday, we really need it by Friday of next week. So you'll see what we're talking about there. But I think you got time to do that. So let us help you if you need it, but you're going to love it. All right, I'm going to check my numbers. I do want you to know that on replay, and I got some funny comments last week about replay, that on replay there's an end screen. When I get done with this live, YouTube still has to do a couple of things to this video to make it playable for the universe. If everything's going our way, it takes us 20 minutes. If everything's not going our way, for some reason it takes YouTube like an hour and a half last week to get that replay back up there. So there will be an end screen on tonight's live that shows you how well our or it just explains the course in a much more succinct way. This is a much longer way to do it. So we have a better summary of what we're doing. Oh shoot, a better summary of what we're doing in our in the end screen video. All right, so here is my glucose, and here's my ketones. Now I just got done drinking my ketones, so I don't know how good they're going to be. But my glucose is 52, so about the same. And I'll count down those ketones. 0.5. So I can't remember what it was at the beginning. Was it 0.3, 0.5? About the same. I just finished swallowing it, so I probably didn't do that right. All right, everybody, I will see you. I do have a couple of extra videos coming out this week, some of my favorite teaching moments, so hopefully that inspires you. And we will see all of you in class on Monday that are joining us, and otherwise we'll see you next Tuesday.